so pumped and excited to welcome back our next guest to this show. Triple Olympian, Olympic silver medalist, World Championship bronze medalist, and the first time we've had him on the show in 7 years. That's
how long it's been.
It's been that long. I'm not happy
Thanks for
about
having me
that.
back.
Well, yeah, I just had to get myself worked up and calm down after what happened to you at your Olympics that came after when we spoke to you last. I'm speaking to David Morris.
Still dealing with it, yeah.
I'm glad David Morris is back on the show. David, first of all, welcome back to Off the Podium.
Thank you very much for having me again.
It's an absolute thrill because I was talking to you off air about the fact that our sort of history goes well beyond Off the Podium. I had you in another life on another radio show just after you won silver back in Sochi. Then we got you on when we were very wet behind the ears here and Off the Podium. We'd only existed for about 6 or so months at that point ahead of
Original,
PyeongChang.
the OG.
You were literally one of our very first ever guests we had on this program. So it's just
I'll take the claim.
8 years, 7 years. I'm losing track of count now.
A lot happens in that time.
A little bit, yeah, just a bit. Again, I was just trying to calm down still from PyeongChang because I have to say your name I think gets brought up more than anybody else on this podcast about people that I'm pissed off at what happened to them at their Olympics. I'm still not over you getting robbed.
I'm not over it either. I feel you. I watch it back and I can't handle it.
It's just not right, is it? I mean, right of appeal. I mean, how many Olympians get things taken away from them for drugs and stuff like that? Yeah. We want dodgy judging calls happening.
Yeah, it was wasn't the best outcome, that's for sure. And I think I interviewed well, and the most important thing is you come off well on TV and people respect you for what happened. And I think I did that quite well. But man, I was furious, and it was a very poor judging. I'll be honest. I've now gone into judging since a long time in the future. But I've gone into judging. I watch back and I go, this is clearly wrong. Everyone knew it. There's just nothing that could be done. Once the scores come in, they're in, and had to accept it. And I mean, I guess to top it off at least, so Jia Zhongyang, who's the one who fell over, we are good friends. I have
Jay-Z,
nothing against
right?
him, of
We
course.
call him Jay-Z.
Jay-Z,
Yep,
Jay-Z.
Yep,
So that's his nickname, Jay-Z. We're good friends, a lot of respect for him, a lot of respect for all the jumpers. So when people look at him and go, oh, this guy, I'm like, he did his jump. He landed, he gets to the bottom. He knew it was a maybe score. He gets a score that gets him in. He goes, great, his competition continues. The athletes have nothing to do with it, so I want to make that very clear to people. You cannot be angry at athletes at any time. We're all friends. Bad judging decisions are not the athlete's fault. We just accept our score and we go back and go again. And he made the most of it and got a medal. Well done to him. At least he made the most of that opportunity. Do I wish it had been a different outcome? Yes. Did I think I was capable of getting another medal? Absolutely yes. But such is life. What happened, and potentially the next jump I could have broken my neck or done something unbelievably crazy. No one will know what happened is the way it was always going to happen, and I just have to accept it and move on, but it hurts.
7 years later, it still hurts.
Still, yep. I watched the video. I'm just like, if I had just done a little bit more lean back on the takeoff, and some of it was me too, absolutely. I did not have the best jump. He did a nicer jump and crashed. I did an average jump, landed, also my fault. And I have to accept this. I could have centered a little harder. I was a little bit nervous. I think I was thinking too far ahead into what was happening next. And that was very different to Sochi, where I was very in the moment. PyeongChang was, I could do this next, because I was winding up to this 5 twists that I wanted to do in front of everyone. And I think that was sitting in the back of my mind, and I was just not in the same zone. So I can only blame myself for that. But yeah, poor judging decision didn't help.
Well, just to refresh people's memories, just in terms of what we're talking about there and where we're sort of going with this. So essentially you'd made the final. We call it a super final now. So every Olympics they change what the final is, right? Isn't it?
There's a qualification round. You get 2 jumps.
Yep.
And I got through on the second round with probably one of my best ever jumps. And it was still in the middle of the scores. The competition was pretty much, I think it was the highest level competition we've ever seen, ever. It was
high scoring Olympic final or something like that, wasn't it, I believe?
And then so you get into the final, and then there's 2 more rounds, and then super final. So I was in the top 12 round, and I did an average jump, landed, I would say the score was correct. It wasn't what I wanted, but I just watched it and everyone kept landing. And I was like, oh gosh, this is not so great. And I was just holding on to this 12th position. And then Jay-Z comes up, does a jump, and then crashes and rolls over, losing his skis. I'm like, yes, I'm in.
We
and
all
as an
did.
athlete,
We all were.
Yeah, you're like, yep, I'm in. That's great. No problems. And the scores took about 3 minutes to come up, which is never a good sign. And he got awarded the landing because he skied, in their eyes, just far enough to be in control and just fell over afterwards. Of course, when you watch the replay, this is clearly not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to watch the replay and go, he was off balance. When you see it in fast motion from the side, I think maybe with no replay from the judges and you're not expecting it, it looks like he landed for a second and just fell over. So I can see why it happened. Is it correct? No. Did the judges do the best they could? Yes.
Because to clarify, there's a period where, and I know you were talking about in the interviews, and please correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but there's like a 4 second or 4 meter period where you've got to control the landing, and he didn't do that on review, but they still awarded him the 6.8 for a proper landing.
Yeah, something. So it was either 4 or 10 meters. You have to ski out in control, and if then after you've shown a controlled landing, if something happens, it's unrelated. And in the review, he's not balanced and he's sort of jiggling around his feet. But from the side in fast motion, it does look like he's landed for a second, absolutely. But I think, we can't. I'd love to blame judges, but now that I've been a judge, I can see that they don't get enough training, they don't get enough experience. So if you haven't seen 10,000 landings like I have, you see it as a landing. But when you've been an athlete and you've seen it all, you go, nah, he's clearly falling over. But it's experience. The rule has since then been changed because of this, and you have to ski out the bottom to now show. If that had been the case, easily in.
You were done.
They look at these things and they change the rules going, this wasn't right. We need to now change it. And I was like, yes, I agree. It needs to change. As
David
a judge
Morris
and then
rule.
a coach, pretty much. I mean, yes. So it's changed since then to help in this case, because it is hard for people to judge it on the spot under pressure when you have 60 seconds to do all the scoring and see everything. It is hard for the judges. I don't want to pretend it's not. It's difficult, but that particular one wasn't correct, and everyone went off about it, which was great because I didn't have to, because social media blew up and was like, this is crazy. And I just read it and felt good about myself because everyone else was saying what I wanted to say. But of course I kept my cool and just was like, I'm just going to accept it and be humble, but not be pumped.
It's so fascinating you say that, because I literally, before this interview, David, watched your interview directly after, and then you sat down with Hamish McLaughlin, obviously the day after, and just you're so calm, you're so chill, you're just like, it is what it is, essentially.
It's media training.
It's bloody good media training. You need to give them a raise, basically give them extra money, because I honestly thought coming into this interview, I was going to sort of get that, there was no animosity, I'm over it, but it obviously...
No, people wanted the rage. Yeah. And it would have been very fair to do it and to have a full-on tantrum, and it would have been warranted. But I think that in my many years of experience and watching other sports, what's more important than the result is your reputation afterwards. And to leave, having not got another medal, I thought, this is such a bad way to end it, because I could have finished after my medal. But because I didn't let anyone down. The result let people down because it was unacceptable to everyone. So it was to leave that, leave it to the imagination, like, he could have done this if this had happened, was actually a really cool way to leave, because I didn't let anyone down. And then to go off and say, I'm very humble, and just exit with the right attitude, sort of actually topped it off. I almost couldn't have asked for a better way to finish, other than a gold medal, of course. But if I got to like 4th or 5th and then crashed out, I think it wouldn't have been so good to walk out with a sort of failure finish where I was in control. But when it's out of your control, people imagine what might have happened and they make up their own, victory story as such. And if I can come across as the nice guy at the end, that sort of tops it off. So it was actually not a terrible way to leave.
What a way to look at it. It's almost like the perfect ending to a movie that you sort of leaves you wanting more.
A bit more. It leaves you hanging like, it could have done this, but it wasn't disappointing because it didn't fail.
Yeah.
Because I didn't crash out. I got cut out unfairly. So it was a weirdly good finish.
You sort of alluded to in that chat with Hamish that you had gotten almost more support by not medaling than you had 4 years prior in Sochi, which is kind of a weird thing.
I got plenty of trolls in Sochi saying like, you don't deserve to win, or you were laughing when the guy fell over. And I was like, no, I was celebrating a victory. And then I got absolutely no negative comments out of, hundreds and hundreds for being kicked out early. 0 trolls.
Fascinating.
So,
wow.
Weird.
Yeah.
But that's why it felt almost like a little victory to walk out as still a victorious overall athlete, I guess, in the end, even without a follow-up medal. So I'm not overly disappointed about it, but the result for myself I'm disappointed about. But the exit, no, I didn't mind that.
When the cameras weren't on you and when, say...
Crying.
Smashing some
tantrum.
shit.
Yeah. Like I had a cry at the top after.
Yep.
Before I came down, because there's a lot of things going on. I just accepted the moment, got out of my system, and we have to come through the media zone, of course, and you can choose whether to speak or not.
Yeah.
And not speaking, not clever. Doing no comment, I don't want to speak, doesn't look good. Having the tantrum, again, would have been warranted, but doesn't look good, even though it can be deserved. So I chose I'm going to talk about a little bit, not go over the top, accept it, because that is the reality of it. Congratulate the field of opponents who did a fantastic job, because it was an unbelievably high-level competition. And to say, look, that's what it is. I don't agree with it. I have to accept the result, and that's what it is. And that's the truth. There's nothing, no tantrum, no comment is going to undo what happens. So I just decided not to bother pushing my limit on that, and just how do I want to come across? How do I want people to remember me at the end? Long-term, people forget your results generally, but they do remember who you are and how you were. And that's what I wanted at the end. So it was, I had to cry and I had my tantrum, but when I was put on the spot to speak, I used that moment to make sure that I'd be remembered properly.
It's so fascinating to hear that, David, on so many levels, because an athlete is almost in never, you can never win in however you react, right? Because if you had no one would have blamed you for throwing a tantrum, for swearing, for going off. But then at the same time, people, when you're doing exactly what you've said you've done, and you've kept that face, you've said all the right things, as much as there weren't trolls and maybe that, there are still probably people questioning, like, well, why is this guy almost happy that he didn't, go through? Yep. So like, you can never win.
And that's a fine line. It's a fine line where you go, I am disappointed and I want you to know I am, but I'm not going to show the full extent of it. But when people, they get and I hate this too. I watch people get a bad result and they go, I'm like, really? It's not, it's horrible. You should be disappointed. And I was absolutely shattered and disappointed in myself. But that's for me to deal with for myself. And you don't want to show that you don't care, but you need to show acceptance whilst being disappointed. It is a very fine line. It have to be someone else's opinion. I think I did a good job of it. I have to see what people think, but I wanted people to know, I wasn't happy, but also what can I do? Nothing.
The silver lining too is that, as I said before, you literally get brought up on this show so often because I just say you were robbed, and it's still 7 years. I'm still saying, when we had Abby on recently, just straight away, boom, David Morris, we know he was robbed. Like, we know it still gets sort of brought up in that. But do you feel
every athlete gets robbed in some way at some point in their career?
Exactly. That's a very good way of looking at it. And there's a question that we will end this interview on when we get to the end, which is very much on that level of it. But do you think you would have handled it differently had you not won the silver in Sochi?
That is a good question. And the answer is yes, because I'd gotten an Olympic medal, so I had one. And the truth is for the third Olympics, I wasn't really after a medal. And I know that doesn't quite sound right. Obviously, I wasn't there to lose. But my goal was to compete 3 flips and 5 twists, which is pretty much the hardest skill anyone was doing at the time. That was my goal, was to compete this in the super final and get a medal with it.
Because you did it in training, didn't you? You landed
I did it in training and landed it in training. It was the first one I landed. I'd done only 2 before I got there that day. So I landed it. People saw it. I was like, awesome, which may have also been bad because I was almost a little bit satisfied with that. And that might have taken away from the want. Who knows? But having a medal already meant that I wasn't disappointed in not getting a medal because I had one. Following it up is, of course, great. I was more disappointed that I couldn't show my skill in front of everyone and finish on a real high. I think if I hadn't had a medal, I would have been much more upset because I was, again, peaking quite at the top of my career. I could do skills that most people couldn't, and I was generally consistent still. I think it would have been a different outcome.
At the end of the day,
the experience led to that.
You're still 10th in an Olympics, no matter what.
10th is not disappointing, but to go 2nd to 10th when they had a potential to match it is tough. But the sport is cutthroat and rough, and that's what makes it interesting to watch. And anything can happen at any time. And sometimes all the world number ones and the good people crash out, and it was me that time, not crashing out, but not making it through.
You did say on this show in 2017 that you said you would be disappointed if you didn't equal or do better, but you would be a 3-time Olympian and you would be proud no matter what. So, I mean...
Which I am, and I think I equaled it by putting down an excellent jump in qualifications, which is a really high score jump, and I had the potential to put down 5 twists and go for the win. Just didn't get the chance, but yeah, the result was heartbreaking. But my performance for myself was not what I wanted, but the overall outcome, 3-time Olympian, 2 Olympic finals, finished with the finals, looked okay in front of the cameras, humbled athlete, is fine by me.
Did you know going into that would be your last Olympics? I mean, again, you said on the show you'd retired about 4 times prior to PyeongChang.
Yeah, that was probably, yeah.
So, but were you...
I retired after the Sochi, and this one was definitely going to be it. Like, I knew before, after Sochi, I was like, I think I never thought past that day. But PyeongChang, I'm now getting older. The younger generation's coming up and they're so good that I no longer stand a chance once they get up to our level and it's their time. So I thought, you have the athletes that are always in there for too long and end up embarrassing themselves because they no longer belong in the field. So I thought my time has come. I had it. I got what I wanted. I got all these little things along the way that I wanted personally, and I could walk away knowing that I'd done the best that I could, and that's all that we can produce is the best that we can do.
I want to touch on a few things, most things after your career day, but one thing I realized I'd actually never really asked you about when you were last on the show, and we always ask about on this show, are just outside of competition side of things at the Olympics, Olympic experiences. We always love to hear about village life, pin trading, things like that. You went to 3
pin trading is like full-on currency, holy moly.
Right, isn't it? I mean, you went to 3 very unique Olympics. Obviously, Vancouver, which is pretty much a home Olympics for Australia, let's be honest.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Pretty much that. Sochi, Russia, that's a whole episode in itself. And then
yes, it is.
PyeongChang, very unique and kind of almost the last, I want to say this, normal Olympics until Paris, because obviously we had then 2 COVID Olympics after that. So,
yes.
I mean, favorite memories, pin trading, village life, things like that from your 3 Olympics?
I think Vancouver was probably the best Olympic experience because it was the first one, so everything was new. And I was there to experience the games, have a great time. And yeah, I knew that pin trading was a thing. So I bought some special like gold little kangaroo pins from back home, which are not the official Olympic ones, but people also wanted them because you couldn't just get them at the Olympics. So I had my full currency worth of stuff.
Very smart.
And you'd go into the hall and everywhere you look is just excellence. That's the coolest thing. You go, here's the Jamaican bobsled team, which of course were super popular. Here's the best downhill skis in the world. Here's all these. You just walk in and excellence surrounds you. Everyone you walk past is good at something, and it's such a cool atmosphere just to think that you're just around amazing athletes who are at the top of their level for the most part, and that they all understand why you're there. You understand why they're there. It's just a nice collective of people who get it. I didn't do a whole lot of socializing because I was there to do well. Of course, I don't want to take away from people, but Lydia Lassala gave me some very good words of advice before my first Olympics, which I only then got probably 5 years later.
Wow.
She's very wise. She said, it's not about the uniform. Says me wearing the uniform.
Our video watchers right now, just ignore what we're wearing.
They're like, what are you talking about? She goes, it's not about the uniform. And I didn't get it at the time. But it is about you'd go to the Olympics, and if you perform well and you are proud of your efforts, this makes it worth it. But when you just go and you get whatever result and you're not happy with it, you do not walk away satisfied. And even though you have all the kit represents the top level of sport. But if you don't feel like you represented the top level of sport, it almost doesn't feel like you deserve it. And I don't want to take away from people who just want to go. That's their thing. That works for them. But I understood her later because after Vancouver and I just missed the finals by 1 spot, I wasn't satisfied with going to the Olympics. Of course, getting a medal made it better. And even in the first one, I performed way above my expectation level, but I wasn't satisfied because when you come home, people say, you went to the Olympics, what happened? And I went, I came 13th and missed the finals. And they're like, oh, that's all they care about. How did you go? They don't care about anything else. So a medal for sure helps. But yeah, it's not just about going to the games. But Vancouver for me was a little bit about going to the games. And then I understood what Lydia said later and then end up performing better. But yeah, the first games was a great experience. Second games was I was there for business and to win. And the third games I was there for myself to do something that I wanted to show everyone. They're all very different.
And it's also, I guess, that level. I mean, I love hearing that. It's a great way of explaining it, but it's also going from debutante to getting the medal, and then ultimately with PyeongChang too, everybody knows who. I mean, even Australia. Like, no disrespect to your career behind. We talked about this last time, but not many people really knew who you were, even going into Sochi. Whereas going into PyeongChang, Channel 7, News Corp, all these places, medal chances, David Morris, ratings. So
they talk you up before you get there, and you're no longer the underdog, which is also a very powerful way to go in. Is people don't know, and you go, I have nothing to prove except that I'm here. But then when you have the medal weight on your shoulders to back it up, that changes everything. And it was hard to deal with that. But I also then, like I said, I wasn't really there for a medal, which I know a lot of people won't be happy to hear because they just want medals. But I was there to perform a particular jump and leave and finish my career on a high and achieve everything I wanted to personally achieve, which in the end I did.
Which is always what I also like to add with Australia and the Winter Olympics too, is that while it's great that we're achieving such success on a world scale, Olympics, World Cups, everything, we really, really are, and the winter community in Australia is growing, it's fantastic. We also have lost track of that, I guess, ability to really appreciate how it is for winter athletes from this country to even make it, let alone do well. And I've always go on about the 90s of, Zali Segal would get a bronze medal, and Kirsty Marsh, all these other people would get like top 10s and we'd be celebrating them. Now it's a case of if we don't win a gold. I mean, I remember after PyeongChang, because we've got
everyone's disappointed.
2 silvers and a bronze. It was disappointing. Sochi, it was disappointing. Crazy. Which it shouldn't be. If we get one top 10, no medals, that's an achievement for Australia at a Winter Olympics.
Yeah, people should realize that we turn up with a team of 40 to 60 people.
Mm-hmm.
And we try and represent one person at least across the board in every sport as much as possible. Other teams turn up with 200. They have multiple chances in multiple sports. We get maybe one chance per sport, per athlete. And for us to get a medal statistically is unbelievable.
Yeah.
To get more than one is fantastic, but we don't get as many because we don't have the representation, because we don't have the winter season like other countries. We don't have the facilities. Our winter sports program is still, in its sense, developing. It's not at the same level as the Summer Olympics. Summer Olympics in Australia is massive because we're a summer sport country. We love our summer sports. I understand. Winter sports is not as big. So when people they see, we've got so many medals at the Summer Olympics. I'm like, yeah, because the swimmers get 7 events. We get 1, and we have about, for aerials, 3 seconds. That's how long our event takes. If you make a mistake in that 3 seconds, your event, it's over. If you miss a stroke in swimming, make it up in the next minute of swimming, or try it in the next event that you have. And it's very different to summer sports. So I think it's almost unfair that people compare. Oh, we get this in this summer. I'm like, it's not the same. Winter is dangerous. People can die.
Yeah, I don't see many people
die, but they can die.
Dying in, we worked this out, David, that pretty much...
No one explodes out of their runners in the 100 meters and muscles explode out of their legs and break their neck. They don't.
Yeah. Not to say that, you can't die in curling, but curling's probably the only winter sport where you can't die, whereas summer...
I mean, you could really get your fingers crushed in those, but,
Yeah, you lay down in the middle of your head.
Javelin.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah, exactly right.
Exactly, right. So there is that. So, it's extraordinary sort of... I think as Australians, particularly, we need to sometimes just pause and realize what the winter athletes are achieving just by...
Or actually just really watch the sports.
Exactly.
We watch for medals, yes, but at some point, I just encourage people, actually watch what just happened. And it's very easy to sit back on the couch and go, I could do that. You couldn't. It's not even a discussion.
Not even curling. I tried curling. I used to say I could do it. I can't even try
curling. It's horribly difficult.
It's terribly hard.
It's very hard. And people watching go, oh, yeah. No, you can't do it. I'm sorry. You can't.
No.
And to put your body and your safety on the line that should be the most impressive thing you watch. You go, that person could have finished up in the hospital today, but they didn't. And they're doing it representing our country and their team and themselves. Well done to them.
100%.
You can't just go out there on any day.
Yeah. 100%, 100% agree with that. Before I move on to sort of coaching and judging and everything like that, I've got to ask a question because it's a rule on this show now when it comes to Winter Olympians, Australians, and particularly freestyle skiers. Do you have any Dale Begg-Smith stories?
No, I don't actually.
Damn it! Oh, we always have to try.
I've got nothing good. No, we hang out once or a couple of times in like the Mogul house. We collaborate with moguls and aerials, but like he's a nice guy. I like him. I'm sure people have different opinions, whatever, but I have no fantastic stories other than knowing that he put in a lot of effort to helping some of our more recent / past Olympians get to their games and perform well. So I know he's given back to the sport, but yeah, no juicy stories, unfortunately.
Do you know where he is? Is he, because you know he's
not a clue.
Right, just checking in.
Somewhere in the world, yeah.
He's private island somewhere. He's still off there somewhere.
Most likely.
So all right, it's a rule on this show. We're going to ask about him.
That's a fair question.
Every now and then. Obviously, post your athletic career, you then switch into coaching. You've even touched on doing a bit of judging.
Yes.
Was this always a plan? Because I was actually going to bring this up right now. I've got your fantastic book.
Oh, there's a book.
Second Nature, David Morris, available now. I highly recommend it. I often talk about how this is one of my favorite autobiographies I've read. But you touched on this, I believe, I remember from doing some levels of coaching. But was this something that you had sort of always thought about, or was this sort of you fell into it after?
Like I was coaching gymnastics since I was about 15. So I've always enjoyed coaching and understanding the biomechanics of everything. And that's why I love our sport, because it's just physics and biomechanics. It's great. And I'd always tried to help our development team members or even people from other teams just jump better. Like we help each other. And I was recruited for coaching the day after the event.
Wow.
And I said, would you like to coach? And I was like, yes, I would like to coach.
Wow.
Because our development team needed the help because it was a underperforming program, didn't have the right coaches or didn't have the support system. So I was like, yes, I'm going to go and help our up and comers, because I could see that our team was, had me, Lydia, Laura, Danny, top level athletes. We're only going to go for so long. I'm crazy impressed that Laura and Danny are still going.
Yeah.
But at some point when they finish, there's a 10-year gap of no one's come through. And that needed to be fixed. So I could, for the future of the program, I was like, I'm going to go and try and help our development team and get people to fill this gap as much as possible so our sport doesn't die out. Because the only way that our teams get funded is through results. We get more government funding with results. And once these girls stop, the results would stop coming. And I was like, then our team's done. And that's no good after all the work we've put in. So yeah, straight into coaching. It was a very interesting experience. There was a really crazy knee-jerk reaction to us not getting any medals at the Olympics. And the organization basically went, all right, all development teams, they're done. We're going to remove everyone and start fresh, which made zero sense.
And this is post-2018, just for clarification.
That is right. There were no unbelievable. We didn't get any medals. This is unacceptable. All of our development teams are out.
Wow.
And I was just about to start coaching. I was like, it's not their fault. Why are you kicking out people who have never been on a water ramp? Like that makes no. They just had this unbelievable reaction about. And this just shows how obsessed people can be with getting medals. Like, yes, that's what we're there for. I understand. But it's winter sports, anything can happen. And the moment we don't get medals, people go wild. And so I went into this camp and I said, don't kick these girls out. Let me coach them for 1 month and I will try and get them flipping and I'll tell you who to keep. And one of them was Ailey Frigo, who's still on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked her so hard during this camp because it was, you have to produce a result in a month, which is way too fast to learn flips on ramps for the first time. But if we don't, I can't convince them to keep you. So I was like, let's do it, and got her up to the right skills. I said, I want you to keep these two. One girl, Amanda, since then has quit herself, but Ailey kept going and she's still there. Now she's on the podium.
Yeah. But
they were just going to go, yep, get rid of these people. I'm like, no, maybe we have an amazing athlete in this group that you're not even going to give a shot to. It was insane. And I started as an apprentice coach. I thought I could just go straight in. It's probably lucky I didn't. But I started as an apprentice and I worked alongside Mish Roth, who's the Swiss team coach. And he's been a coach for many, many years, very well experienced, but not as technical. And he knows he's not a super technical coach. He's the feel-good coach who really gives athletes the confidence. And he's unbelievably good at this. So he said, I'd like to work with Dave because I'm super technical. And so I helped our team and his team as a combination. He would make everyone feel good and give them confidence. And I would feed him the technical feedback to say, they need to fix this. So then he could coach them the way he wanted with the technical side. And we started producing world number ones every year.
Wow.
And it wasn't surprising. He had some good athletes who were just missing a little couple things. And yeah, so we had a combined Aussie-Swiss team for 4 years, and it was challenging. We also had COVID in that time, which we can get into, but like that was really tough. That strained everyone's relationships, especially between two teams where sometimes we couldn't travel and they're like, just come to Switzerland. And we said, we can't because we can't come home once we leave, we can't. And the European teams had very lax COVID protocols, and we were not allowed to get COVID, absolutely unacceptable if anyone gets COVID. And it was drilled into us as coaches that no one was allowed to get COVID. So we had the strictest rules on World Cup. And the other teams didn't appreciate this, and it made it very hard for us to mingle amongst those who wouldn't wear masks and didn't care about the testing. And we were doing the test every single day.
Wow.
Every day.
Wow.
And no one on our team got COVID leading into the games. We were the only aerials team that didn't get it, and the only winter Aussie team that didn't get COVID because we did it so meticulously. Everyone hated it. And I know the athletes hated it, and I felt so sorry for them. But we as coaches also followed the rules, and we had to do all the same stuff as them. And it was the only way to guarantee that everyone could go, because if you get COVID the week before the games is over for you. And to put in all that work was no good. But yeah, that's a different story. But like, coaching was good. I enjoyed it. And yeah, we were producing a world number one or two every single year, which showed that we were the top two coaches in the world, and we were just consistently just getting results. And then, I don't know if you want to have a topic, but yeah, then the Olympics came. It was, winter COVID Olympics. So the summer missed out on completely. We were just allowed to make it happen. And it was tough. And I think the rigorous training and the isolation and the lack of training so much, it wasn't perfect for anyone. And we just didn't get medals at this event. And it was tough because we had potentially Danny and Laura both could have got a medal. Laura came very close.
Fifth, if I'm not mistaken, was she fifth from memory?
Yeah, she came fifth.
Yep.
Yeah, really, really close. I mean, conditions were tricky, and it was, minus 28 or something. Like when I watched the footage back, like the moustache is frozen and you breathe out, it freezes, and eyelashes frozen shut. It was miserably cold. And it was a tough games. And again, we didn't get medals. And afterwards it was like, why didn't we get medals? But they should have got medals. And I was like, do you remember the last 4 years? We had COVID. We're stuck overseas. We're isolated in hotel rooms. We can't come home. We couldn't even use our Australian facility because Brisbane was finally built as a water ramp facility for us, which I'm so annoyed at because it got built after I finished. It makes me so angry.
Go out of retirement. There's your fifth time out of retirement.
Yeah.
There you go.
Quick side story. Out of retirement. My first year coaching, I was lectured about, you're no longer an athlete, you're a coach now, and you have to behave like one, and you can't have the same mentality as an athlete. And we went to Deer Valley, and it was the first time that Aerials was having a team event at a World Championships.
Yep.
And they need 8 teams to hold a World Championships event. And there were 7 teams. I was told I needed to jump in order for the event to happen.
Wow.
So I, for 2 days, came out of retirement to jump. And I was coaching both teams at the same time.
Wow.
So they said, we need 8 teams, and can you jump? And I said, well, look, I'm a coach now. not really. And they said, we need an 8th team. So I said, then send my stuff from overseas. And it got to Deer Valley and I was like, here's all my stuff, put it on. Went up on the double because there's no single. So I had to start with doubles, which is terrifying after not jumping for a year. And of course, all the athletes who know me very well, huge pain in the butts. They went, you can go first. I was like, you guys suck. You suck. Like, we're not going to go. We don't need to. I'm like, you're the worst. I hate you all. I hope you all crash and burn. So I just had to go. And yeah, I crashed one jump and I landed everything else. It was fun. And I competed a full. They're like, good on the triple. I'm like, I'm not stupid. Full, 2 flips, 2 twists. Fine. Landed my jump, got to the bottom, waved at the camera, took my ski boots off, put my snow boots back on, went up and coached the Swiss team to victory.
Wow. So like you have to then coach a team that beats Australia essentially.
Yep. Well, yeah, our team just went in it to basically let the event happen.
That's insane. Wow.
And so I took it off and went, all right, back to coaching. Let's go, boys and girls. And it was wild. It was wild.
Jeez. Well, yeah. So you coached the very first ever world championship winning mixed team, essentially.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's put it on the resume.
That's on there. I loved coaching and like getting results is great. But one thing I did learn along the way, I'm still sort of learning, is it is about the athletes. It's not about us. So it's a cool claim, but I don't say, oh, I coach this person, I coach this, unless I have to put in a resume or talk myself up. But it's about the athletes. It's nice to be a part of their journey and to know that I had input and that it was successful for them. That is the reward. And I just hope I can keep doing that. But after Beijing, the sports politics came in. I'd been an apprentice and I really wanted to be the World Cup coach so I could make massive adjustments to our program because our development teams were underdeveloped and they were not matching what our World Cup team was doing. So everyone was quitting between development and World Cup team because the styles didn't match. And the World Cup team, we coach a certain way. We know what the end result needs to be. So we're seeing the big picture. And I wanted to then come through and say, everyone needs to teach these things the same way, just a couple things the same way, so that when they come up to World Cup, it flows on nicely. And this is what Mish had done with his program. He was in charge. He says, we're doing these 4 things all the way through. And when they get to the top coaches, it's consistent. I was told I was not allowed to tell any other coaches how to coach, despite being the technical expert on the Australian team. Maybe I would call myself a world leading technical expert in aerials. Wasn't allowed to tell our coaches how to coach. And after my 4-year apprenticeship, I was expecting or told I was going to be the World Cup lead coach. And then I was not given this position and they brought in someone else. They go, here, he's now head coach. And I was just the technical coach. And I was like, you know what? No, that's not what I was going for. And then we got blamed for not getting medals. We got blamed for athletes having a terrible time because our COVID rules were too strict. And I was like, hold on a second. We were only allowed to travel because we had to make these huge documents saying, here's how we're going to avoid getting COVID for our team. And it was signed off and said, if you do these, you can travel. So we were following the rules of the organization. And of course, everyone hated it. It wasn't fun. And at the end, to then be blamed for everyone hated it this year because of the COVID rules. I'm like, these were your rules. You said absolutely unacceptable if anyone gets COVID. And we achieved this goal. And now it's no one's having fun. Everyone's quitting and we didn't get results. I'm like, I'm sorry, why is this suddenly my responsibility? These are your protocols. And it was all just put on the coaches. And I had an athlete end up quitting after the Olympics. And she did a great job, of course, but she just quit. I think she wanted to go to the Olympics and it was a tough year for her and we had a struggled season. And she ended up quitting and I was blamed for her quitting. And I was like, no, her and I get along quite well. I pushed her hard, but she didn't quit because of me. And I was like, if everything's just going to be put on the coaches, every mistake that happens is coach's fault, and no one else takes any responsibility for anything. And I was like, then I'm done. And I told the athletes, I'm out after this season because this is no longer coaching for me. I just want to coach. But there's so much other nonsense that it's no longer enjoyable to go out and coach anymore. Because that's why I just like to help people. The rest of I don't deal with that stuff. It's not what we're there for.
It's so, I mean, look, we could talk about this for hours there because I am so fascinated with this. And actually it brings me back to one part of your book that you did talk about when you were an athlete and when you would talk about being the only male athlete and the hurdles that you had to overcome because of how focused obviously they were on the female side of things, and you were basically overlooked because no, it's all about the women, it's not about the men.
Yes.
I think it's the one sport I've ever encountered on this show where
it's probably the only one where it's the other way around.
The other way around, right? Where the men are not getting that way. I guess what I'm trying to ask with this is that obviously, despite the success that we see from the outside, the Olympic medals, I mean, I still believe we are the most successful nation in aerial skiing, the women's side of things in the history of the Olympics. There is still obviously a lot of issues because it's still happening. It's going that way. Is there an easy fix? Is that a too hard question to ask, or is it a case of
not a hard question to ask? It's a hard question to solve. Look, sports and politics shouldn't mix. They do. They shouldn't. Even going into Beijing, there was these human rights issues people were talking about, and I got interviewed on behalf of the Olympic team about, what do you think about China's human rights and how they're treating people? And I said, we are there to compete. Politicians can discuss this. We have nothing to do with it. We have no real comment on it. Maybe people will want to comment on it, but they try and bring in the outside world into sport, and it doesn't belong there. It doesn't. And there's also, intra-program politics and things where, this person's friends with this person, so they'll get this, or, we don't like this person, even though they're fully qualified, you're not going to let them do this because they might do this. And people have their fingers in too many pies around the place and have too much pull in areas where they shouldn't. And it's a bit of a disaster. And it's every sport has it. People don't see it. Every sport has it. And it's not to say, no, aerials is bad. Every sport has it. And it's not an easy fix, but I tried to come in and have a big impact, and you need someone to come in and shake the boat a little bit and go, no, we're going to do this and this, but it doesn't work. You have to come in and be the yes man and do all the right things and very, very slowly make the change. But of course, when you only slowly make the change and you keep not getting results, then you get blamed for not getting results. And our team very quickly changed from, you need to be 95% of the world's best, you need to do everything it takes to get medals, to then, why didn't we get medals? And the athletes aren't having a good time, and you need to be nicer to everyone, and people have to enjoy training. I'm like, I don't know if you've coached before, but no one enjoys training all the time. And sometimes people are going to cry. And I don't enjoy making people cry, but sometimes I make them to get something out of them or to make them speak to me. So Gabby was one of the girls who went to Beijing. One of my favorite athletes to coach. She's such a hard worker.
Had her on the show, Gabby. We had her on not long after Beijing. Yep.
She was. I'd be interested to talk to her again about it. But she was really great to coach, and we had a big argument once because she wasn't landing. I was like, okay, I need to fix her, and I was like, Gabby, I just need you to do it now, and let's get it done. And she gave me no reaction, and she was just always super quiet. And then one day I pushed her a little too far. And she came up afterwards and yelled at me and was like, I don't like when you talk to me like that. It's disrespectful. I was like, there we go. Thank you. And she told me exactly how she felt about everything. She goes, I don't like when you coach me like this. You should do it like this and this and this. And I went, that's what I wanted. Thank you. Because I didn't know how to get through to you and it wasn't working. And now that we've had this big argument, now I understand you. And we never had an argument after that. It was the most healthy shouting discussion ever. And we got her to the Olympics. And she landed both of her jumps and then ended up quitting afterwards. I think she just wanted to go. But and I was told you can't upset athletes anymore. And I went, how do we change from do everything possible to now you have to make everyone happy? It's the opposite end of the spectrum. And I'm sorry, but you can't have someone enjoy every single day of training and get results. It doesn't work like that. You have to push people, especially in these sports where danger and fear is involved. If you want results, you have to push people beyond what they want to do. And sometimes they will get upset. And I don't like it, but it happens.
It's a mentality thing too, isn't it? Because you can train your body to its physical peak to do what it is humanely capable of. But if you're not if you're not there. So, and as a coach, and particularly coming from an athlete's background, I can imagine, go into that thinking, oh, well, as an athlete, this is what I liked. But that doesn't necessarily translate into coaching. So you got to have a blue with an athlete, I can imagine, as you're saying, to try and sort of find that.
To understand them. And, just because I'm experienced and I've got a medal and I know how to do it, doesn't necessarily make me a good coach. It does help to have the experience, and it does help to understand what it feels like to do things, because you can gain the trust faster. And you go, I know what you're feeling right now. I know it very well. And I say, you will be fine. And they believe you more than just some random person going, oh, just go again. They're like, why don't you go again? I'm like, I would if it was me. I would, and I have. But you need to have discussions. And I've also had a big shouting fest with Danny once, and she stormed out of training. So I was like, I need you to do this and this. And she's like, no, you can't tell me this stuff. And she stormed out and then came back after lunch. And I said, that's fine. You don't have to like me today. I will obviously keep watching and I'll give you feedback if you want. But today you don't have to be my best friend. We don't have to be friends today. And she kept training, great session. And we didn't have a big discussion after that. And then we got her, and in my last year, her first overall world #1 ranking with triples. So we worked really well as a pair of first teammates and then coach-athlete relationship. But we also had a big argument at one point to understand each other, and it was needed.
Yeah.
But without those, there's something missing. And then there's this crazy power dynamic. You go, I'm in charge and whatever, but people are just not happy all the time. It is what it is. Sometimes you have to be pushed. And when you're lazy, the coach's job is to make you work. And other times you go, let's cruise today. But sometimes our job is to make them work. And sometimes athletes forget that we are there for them. They don't like us all the time, but we have their greater goal in picture all the time.
What happens when you can't break that barrier, when maybe an athlete just isn't capable?
They just don't vibe with you.
Yeah.
And I don't pretend that every athlete I've had vibes with me. It's impossible to get every single one. We try our best, but sometimes it doesn't work. And that's when the David combination worked out really well. Because if something didn't work with him, he'd go, just take him for a couple of days to sort of give him a break. And then we'd switch back and forth. So the dual coaching was very successful. But sometimes you just have to acknowledge, like, yeah, we don't get along so well, but I am here to help you. And if you need additional help, you can get it, but I'm your coach and my goal is your best interests, and I will do my very best to get you what you want. You just have to communicate properly. So when you don't get along, communication is even more important, because you can read people who are your friends and they kind of give off body language, but when someone doesn't like you, they don't give you the same signals, or they're not honest with maybe you or themselves about things, and that makes things very challenging. That'd be a whole nother podcast on its own, how to deal with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert at it. Mish, actually, that's where he comes in really well. He does a very good job of that, and I would use him for that. I'd be like, I cannot get through this person. Can you talk to them? And he'd sort of get them on side and then slowly hand them back. And it was a very cool way to work with someone.
Do you miss it? Do you miss coaching?
I really do. I still get recruited by the Moguls team and some other freestyle teams. So I go down for a couple of weeks or a month back to Brisbane, or I think I'm going to go to Jindabyne later this year to technically coach the Moguls team, because that's my area. So it gives me a bit of comfort knowing that people know that I'm good. And even though they've got their World Cup winners and their Olympic medalists, they say, can you please come down and teach this group some more things? So this is nice for me. And I do miss it. I would go back, but the traveling and the lifestyle gets a bit too much after 20 something years. And my new life is, it's not as exciting. It's not as entertaining as such. It's not so spontaneous, but it is consistent and reliable, and that has its own place. But I do miss it a lot.
You're obviously speaking to us in Germany, and I mean, Italy, a little bit closer to Germany than just say if you were still in Australia. Is there plans? I mean, with the first Olympics you're not going to be at, since the last ones that were in Italy, I'm guessing, back in 2006, or are you still thinking of going to watch it at least? Or
I thought about going to watch, but I'm now a full-time teacher. So leaving my class, I mean, I could say I'd like some time off, but
field trip. Athletes, come on, kids.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that is a great idea, actually. I should propose this. But as with athletes, I'm dedicated to what I do. So I'm now dedicated to the students, and I don't like to just disappear and say, oh, sorry, I'll be back, I'm doing a thing. But Mish actually recently has asked me if I would be happy to help him for the Olympic season and then help coach and help his group up to the games. And I said, I would love to, but I'm now teaching and I cannot just disappear for 6 months. So the option was there. And I also have the potential to judge at the Olympics.
Wow. There's some revenge.
Indeed. And that's one of the reasons actually why I did take up judging, because when we watch, as an athlete, what a good score is and when they should happen. And when you see it not go to, not happen, it's just like, that's not right. We need some better judges. So I got into judging with a lot of former athletes, and we created this expert panel. of former athletes who really understood not just what they were looking at, but why things happened. And we did some judging for you, and the scores went way down, but it was consistent. Everyone was like, oh, the scores are low. I'm like, but they're correct. They're correct now. And you're not going to get away with nonsense, and we're not going to miss the little things. And everyone really liked it. But again, sports politics, and there's some old judges who were not happy that new people had come in and just taken up spots really quickly, and they've just pushed us all out.
Wow.
So maybe I will coach at the Olympics. Maybe I won't. It will depend on the politics.
Yeah. That's
Despite being some of the most experienced in the world, they just might not use us. It's weird.
Did you find it more of a, I guess, light bulb moment when you went from athlete to coach, where maybe there was moments where you go, oh, okay, I get that now that I'm a coach. That's what I was like an athlete. Or athlete to judge, where maybe there were moments you're like, oh, okay, I get it why, this was so difficult for judges or something like that.
I understand more why it's difficult for judges. They're under a lot of pressure, and it's very fast. And I would love to they gave you like one replay, then it became two. And I think even in Sochi, I'm not even sure they had a replay. It was just live.
Wow.
Really hard. So I can't blame them, but results are wrong sometimes. It is what it is. So I can say the result was wrong, whatever. But can I blame people for doing their best? No, I can't. Could we have better people or more, or could we train them more? Yes, that's then someone else's responsibility. Train these people. So we, as our former athletes, we went in and said, we're highly trained. We've watched hundreds of thousands of jumps, more than anyone else in the world. We know what we're looking at, and it made it a bit better. But yeah, judging is hard. It is hard. And there's a lot of pressure. And when you mess up, and we still made mistakes, little mistakes, but we cared about it. I think the difference was we cared about it. At the end of the day, we're like, that was not quite right. And other people go, I'm done. But like, no, we care, because we know that position for that athlete, 9th or 10th, that no one else cares about, may have been an Olympic qualification for them. It's every position is important.
Which I know how you're going to answer this question, David, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
I'll be consistent as always. Go for it.
Please, because I've always wanted to ask this question to like an umpire or something like that. But like, are there times when like you maybe don't like an athlete, and maybe you could give them some, like if you're an athlete, AFL umpire, you don't like a team.
There's times where you don't like someone and you could, but you don't.
Okay.
Because then I'm just as bad as, there's judges who are clearly biased. You can see it.
Mm-hmm.
But I watch and I go, despite what I think of people, and I know a lot of them, it is a little bit tricky sometimes when you know them. You go, they'll probably do it like this. But in the end, I watch the sport. I go, that was a beautiful jump. This was clean, and there's criteria we use, and you stay within the criteria. Your personal opinions on people don't matter. I feel bad or good for them after the competition. But when I'm judging, I see straight lines, feet together, nice landings. That's all I see. I just look at shapes, and I couldn't care less who's up in the air.
Because I also ask that on the basis of, I'm sure as an athlete, there are times when you would rock up to an event and you would see the judges list and you would go, oh, Judge X, he never likes me. You know what I mean? Like, you've all got that opinion.
100%.
So
And we check this with the coaches and the athlete, because I would ask afterwards, what did you think of the judging today? And they said, harsh but fair.
Okay.
And I was like, that's good then, harsh but fair. And the Swiss boys were like, oh, can you judge our water ramp competition? I'm like, you know that I'm pretty strict. And they go, yes, but you'll do it right. I'm like, thank you. They know. So it's stricter. They will get lower scores, but everyone will get lower scores, and good scores will show and the lower scores won't. So it was nice to know that at least the athletes and the coaches were happy with it, which in the end is actually really all that matters. Because when they are happy, the competition develops as it should, and the people watching, it makes sense to them. They go, yes, of course that's a higher score. Or if not, it should be very obvious why not. Whereas now you watch some and you're like, I watch some that I'm not judging. I'm like, why did that happen? It doesn't make sense to me at all. And it must be super confusing for people who know nothing about it.
Yeah.
And I know something about it and I still don't get it.
Well, that's weird. Comforting, because, we're all experts every 4 years, right?
Yes, yes. Everyone is like the couch potato expert every 4 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're obvious, sometimes they're not.
The fun experience I had with that ever was in Paris last year at the breaking, where literally we are surrounded by sports journalists who have never remotely even seen this sport. And I thought like, oh, well, I've interviewed a couple of these. I get an understanding of what they're looking for. But even when you're watching it and you're like, Why do they get
What's
that?
happening?
Because it's not technically a sport either. It's technically not a sport. So it's like it's all
it's a dance. It's a presentation. I'm not going to comment. I mean,
just trying to bring up Ray Gun apparently, but no, it's
I don't want to go.
it's so fascinating.
I have respect for anyone who does anything at a high level. I have high respect for them, whether it's a sport or not. Arguable, but you look at it and people, they're most of them are very highly skilled athletes, as with any sport. And you're curling, you can look at it and go, I can do that. You also can't. It's not easy. I've tried it. I'm pretty coordinated. It is hard, really hard.
And it's the growth. Simple. It's the growth. Go back and watch curling in Nagano in 98 where you've got chunky guys with mullets and they're just smoking basically. Now they're highly tuned athletes, right? Like it's sort of,
the best athletes make their sports look easy. And that's why people go, oh, I could do that. And you go, the only reason you think that is because they make it look so simple because they're so good at it.
And that's it. And this is what we always like to say too, is that if you really want to make people at home watching the Olympics realize how hard it is, have just like on the start list, average person. Like put me up there. Ben Waterworth is an aerial skier at these Olympics because I guarantee
Get the ambulance ready.
Exactly.
Backboard. No offense, but you would die. Yeah, there'd be no chance. I would love to see it. It would be funny.
No, I mean, given my 5 seconds on skis in my life, I chickened out and went back to the lodge and had hot chocolate for the rest of the day.
That's a fair call. That's what we feel like sometimes when the jump looks too big. We're like, might just go inside today. It looks a bit intimidating.
It's exactly that. I want to actually ask though, going into Milan Cortina, obviously you're not involved in the coaching, you're not there. I'm sure you still keep an eye on things, keep up to date with the athletes and everything. I mean, again, not basing this on what we're trying to counter against what we've been saying about. It's not all about the medals, but obviously going into it where we're at right now, we've obviously had Laura had another fantastic season. Danny's had a fantastic season. We obviously have
expectations. And predictions.
Yes.
So,
where are we at? Where are we at?
Yeah, always dangerous to predict, but I will just for the sake of argument. Laura is on fire at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing triples. She has figured out the landing. And when you figure out the landing and you can just kind of land without thinking about it too much, because most people, the ground comes at you really fast and like, how do I land? And eventually you just land. It just is part of it. And it looks like she's figured this out and she gets more comfortable when you get this. So Laura is absolutely a chance to win. Again, depends on conditions, depends on a lot of things. I don't want to guarantee anyone, but absolutely yes. Danny also still technically very, very good. She's on the double at the moment. I'd be interested to see if she adds another twist in or not. So she could do a double full, which is 2 flips and 4 twists. This is the hardest one you can do off the double. I'd be interested to see if she does that, but she is still on the podium frequently with her doubles because they are very good. You're welcome, Danny. We worked very hard on them. We did triples. I think she's come back down to double. Maybe she's more comfortable on that. We had to go at triples for the Olympic medal. It didn't work out, but she's really good on the double. So if Laura lands, she's almost guaranteed to win. She's very hard to beat when she's landing. We still have a couple girls who are now up on the triple who are also doing very well. So if triples land, triples are going to win. If it's rough conditions and triples are not doing so well, Danny has an extremely good shot as always. She's very consistent. And if she gets her speed right, you can almost guarantee she's going to land. Like when she crashes in comp, I'm shocked most of the time. I'm like, oh, that's unusual. So, and we had this past season, a 1, 2, 3, 4 podium sweep.
We did, yeah.
Blew my mind a little bit. Abby has been on the podium a couple of times now. Deer Valley, especially, I think she likes Deer Valley.
Yeah, she does.
And Ailey has now also been on the podium, and they're consistently, these girls, up in that super finals. And it's statistically for us, we're in a very good position. And I hope that this time around, we will qualify all 4, and I believe it's almost guaranteed, with no issues. Last time it was a bit more challenging. We can get into that in a minute. But this time we have 4 solid girls who can do well, and I believe they will continue this and get all 4 in, and we'll have 4 out of 25 in the Olympics because the field is cut at 25. They give us a very high chance of getting the podium.
I'll ask about that, the situation around Beijing and Abby, because obviously we talked to her about that in just a moment. But one thing I want to touch on, Riley, the male side of things. We've just gotten a medal, obviously. Riley. Yeah, boy Riley. We've gotten a medal in the mixed event, obviously, recently.
Yes.
I mean, does this make you get a bit of a smile on your face, David? All those challenging years for you being the only man that like now
Like,
this
makes
could
me a
happen.
bit jealous. I won't lie. Yeah, makes me a little jealous.
Out of retirement again, just saying.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we've always done really well in the team events, despite having a disadvantage as such. And I say this very carefully. I don't want to take it away from the female athletes. When you have two boys on the team who are jumping triples and you have a girl who can do doubles or triples, two big scores from the boys really boost it up. And if your female athlete can do a triple, that really adds to it. So when we competed with me on their team, we had two girls doing doubles and one triple. So we had a huge disadvantage with just the general degree of difficulty from the scores. But we were always so consistently landing that we came second, third a couple times. And we we're always there. Mm-hmm. It was pretty cool. So now Riley's in there, which is great because we can actually compete in the team event. Because without him, we can't compete. You need a boy, or you need at least one boy or one girl on each team. So he holds the team event together. He doesn't have a lot of experience. He's technically beautiful to watch in the air. Very straight lines. Needs some more experience for sure, dealing with speeds, whatever. But it does make me happy that we can compete in another event and that everyone will get a second shot at a medal. And it, as you said, we got a podium. It's possible. I think it's unlikely. If everyone's having a good day, it's very hard for us to get a medal in that event because he's only doing doubles. But you have to be in the event to have a shot at a medal, and we are in the event. And there's only, 8 to 9 teams in a team event. So it takes one crash from an athlete on one team to sneak through around each time. So it's be very interesting to watch. But I'm very glad he's there.
It's exciting.
And it's nice to have one boy still in there. I thought I could have left a bit more of a legacy and got a full boys program happening, but we've got one at the moment.
We all just need the one, right, for that event to kind of have a shot.
I'm very happy for him, and it's cool that he's going to get, I believe, a really early Olympic opportunity by being part of this team, and I hope that helps them develop into a more experienced athlete for when he's really at a competitive level. Because when you get that first Olympics out of the way and the experience and the full version of the excitement is a little bit less for the second one, and you can concentrate, you have a much higher chance of doing well. So I hope he gets to go. I hope he has a great experience. I hope the team does well. And maybe that can lead to more boys. We go, we have a team event. We're also good if we have a couple of options.
Which is the baffling thing for me sometimes when I think about sort of legacies in winter sport that this male program in aerials didn't take off. I often bring up someone like Jackie Narracott, who, she said on this show that
amazing.
There really wasn't that much interest in skeleton even after I won a silver medal. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? Come on. So
it's money and where the funding goes and where the support is, and it's very easy for us to say we don't get enough. Every athlete will say they don't get enough, and some for sure don't get enough. Others do, but they don't realize how much they're getting. And money has to go somewhere, and that's again where we come back to this. People are set on results. The results do determine where the money goes. That's where the athletes, we just go, we're just here to compete. But of course, organizations go, we need the funding. Where are our medals? It is a very tricky balance.
I'm just trying to think, right? So I just weirdly went to Ariane Titmus, Harvey Norman, great, summer, successful, fantastic. Of all my years of watching and covering Winter Olympians, no one I can think of, any Australian Winter Olympian, has ever been the face of something. I mean, Stephen's got his beer, but he had to start that himself.
I wonder if Scotty James has been the face of something.
No, but this isn't trying to shit on Scotty, but does he need it? He's kind of married to someone who's in a very rich family. So
he's in a good opportunity. He's got a good opportunity. But yeah, it's like, it's very hard. But
Lydia did Survivor, which I want to ask you about in a second, but where are our winter athletes promoting stuff? Come on.
It's tricky because we're a summer sports country.
I know, but...
And you see it on TV more often than people, like I said, we tune in every 4 years for the Winter Games. Yeah. But we get Commonwealth Games, Olympics, frequent national championships on TV. You don't see our World Cup season on the TV. Our World Championships, it's not there. You know where we missed a trick, and rest in peace. Seriously, I'm not doing this to disrespect his memory, but Chumpy Pullen. Do you remember the, was it chum dog food? They used to say, so Chumpy, you can carve it, which I think is where Chumpy might have gotten his name from, this nickname. I have no idea where his name came from, actually.
So why did we not have Chumpy doing the chum dog food? God.
That would have been amazing, actually.
Gosh, I mean, come on. Dale,
there's a lot of missed opportunities, and I don't know. Like even after an Olympic silver medal, I thought that would do something. It didn't. People want the winners. I understand that, but it's like still an Olympic medal, but they're not interested in not the absolute winner. It's a very tricky.
This is what I brought up with Abby, with you. How have you not done the rounds of Survivor or I'm a like you were such a personality, David. It just
I thought Ninja Warrior would be money for me. I'd be like, that looks like my sort of cup of tea.
Have you ever been contacted at least? Has anyone asked you to be on anything?
No, I got maybe one once and then it didn't follow through. Oh. But then the challenge was because I went straight into coaching, I was also away all the time. Damn. So I got a couple of people saying, would you be here to do this? And I went, no, I'm not. Very decided. A little bit disappointed I didn't take up that opportunity.
Are you allowed to tell us what it is?
People just hate me. It was just a couple of things, but like I thought Ninja Warrior would be great.
Yep.
I thought about a Survivor thing, but people would just kick me off straight away because I'm too honest. I hate on everyone. I'm like, this person's an idiot and not be like trying to make friends.
Bradbury did Survivor too. Let's not forget, Bradbury wasn't too good at Survivor himself, but Lydia came back for All-Star. I mean, Lydia was a gun. So
I mean, Lydia could surely just like win every challenge and not care if people like her or not. Yeah. That'd be my goal. Just going to win everything. Don't care if you like me. And the moment I lost a challenge, I'd be gone because they'd kick me out straight away.
But this is where I see you have an advantage because, again, you're known but not super well known. You're that type of person who, I think it's in the book, you were a trivia question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You're that one who goes, I remember him. So, like, if you rocked up on an island on Survivor, right?
They might go, that guy.
A few people would be like, yeah, I remember that. You know,
probably like 3 people, but that's better than 0. But
yeah, well, look, hey,
you'd be one, so two other people.
I'll just be lucky. That'll be the one season I get cast on. Like, hey, how you going? Yeah. You know, and then
that'd be funny. I thought it'd be really cool to do those sort of things, but I also I fell in love with the coaching, and I felt that was a bigger calling for me. And like showbiz and all these things is fine, but I think it can be very short-lived. And sometimes, and I'll say this carefully, I feel that some people try and stay on TV to stay relevant because they're desperate to hold on to their identity, and it is very hard to let go of. But I found a new identity in coaching and staying in the sport and giving back to others rather than trying to be like, look at me, I'm still here. I'm like, yes, this would be nice, but it's not as fulfilling as watching someone else go like this and reaching their potential. This is a lifelong feeling, and it's really important to me to keep that. I really enjoy it.
What about commentary, TV punditry? I mean, Lydia was amazing during Beijing and everything, and so many other winter athletes do such a good job with that.
I would like to do the commentary for the Milano Games, actually.
I've got some 9 contacts. I'll flick your details on Channel 9 if you want.
As an expert in the sport and a judge, I could explain all the things, and I've kept up to it. I mean, I don't want to push Lydia out if she's applied for it.
Well, Jackie Cooper, of course, is doing it as well, alongside Basil,
I would love to do that stuff. Yeah. I would love to do that. Just you put a bit of emotion in it. You have some sort of background information. You can really explain what's happening, and no disrespect to commentators, but when you have the real background, you go, I know this person, this is what they might be capable of, or this has happened before, and this is why, the really intricate details about why things happen. I think it makes it more enjoyable to watch
100%
because the scores make sense. And you go, this one's wrong because of this or that. I would love to do that.
And then you
I just try not to get too hyped.
Yeah, I was going to say, you'd be like, Lydia, what did she say? It was a travesty or whatever it was that you were robbed during back in...
She was correct.
Yes, exactly.
She was correct. It was a travesty. It was no good at all, but such is life, and what can you do? Not much.
The one thing I want to ask, you brought it up before, and we'll get to it, so we'll wrap it up. We're having fun here, Dave. I'm not saying we're not having fun, but we'll get to some more fun ones in just a moment. But, I mean, with coaching, there's selections, you're involved in that kind of things as well. We obviously talked to Abby about kind of what happened and her not making Beijing.
She had a very rough go.
Yeah. Can we hear your side of that story? Because, I mean, it's sort of...
Absolutely, yes.
As a journalist, we like to have 2 sides of every story.
There's 2 sides.
And I would love to hear your perspective of the Abby situation.
Abby had a rough time. So, and I'll be very honest about this one. So when I first started coaching, she was removed from the team. And I was asked as a new coach, do you think we should keep this athlete? And looking at her at the time, I went, no, I don't think we should. And I'll own that. I said, I don't see the motivation. I don't see the fitness. I don't see the drive or the effort. And I don't see this going to an Olympic level because that's what the team was all about. We need Olympians. And I said, I don't see this. So yes, I don't think she should remain on the team. And then I got, with the apprentice role, I ended up working with Mish Roth from Switzerland. And Abby in defiance of this decision, and well done to her, said, then I'm going to work with the Swiss team. And so I ended up coaching Abby straight after.
What's that first meeting like?
Well, she didn't know at the time that I had contributed to this decision. Right. But I told her, I said, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I was part of this decision-making process. What I didn't see was motivation, blah, blah, blah. But here you are. This is your motivation. You've been kicked out. You can use this or you can let it eat you alive. And so she turned up and she wanted it. And I said, I'm here to coach you now. So whatever that's happened, but I'm here to coach you and let's see how far you can get. And I knew it ate away at her head for years, being kicked out. But I can say very honestly, from my view, it's the best thing that ever happened to her. She came back fitter, more driven, with a fire in her to do well, and was so determined. And that's what has led to her now more recent success. I coached her through the season and we got her on the podium for her first podium. So I was like, yes, a little bit of redemption for myself. I go, yes, I helped remove you, but I've also got you back in, got your podium, and now got you the top funding level. So it was never personal. And maybe, I don't know how she feels about it. Maybe she hates me forever about it. That's fine. But in the end, I didn't see the athlete that we needed. But then she came to Switzerland and we created the athlete that she needed to be. And what was really hard is the selections for Beijing, very tough, but I will explain this. Each team can qualify a maximum of 4 athletes. So they don't have like China dominating the whole field or Russia dominating the whole field, which they typically could do because they have so many good ones. So four athletes per country, and you have to qualify those spots. And then 25 go to the Olympics. So at the end of a 2-year process is Olympic qualification time. The top 25 in the world go in. If a country has 6 athletes in that top 25, 2 get removed and others come up the list until we have 4, 4, 4, 4, whatever. Or if you've only qualified 3, you get 3 spots and everyone's out. Abby got injured was it the year before the Olympics? Yes, it was the year before the Olympics, with a knee injury, and then was out for the rest of the season, which was costly, not anyone's fault, but costly towards qualification points. So when she came back, we were pushing really hard, and I was absolutely set on the fact that she would go. I didn't even consider that she wouldn't, because she can land a jump, she could do really well. But on one particular competition we had in Ruka in Finland, we had Gabby and Abby. They're fighting for these positions. Gabby had an absolute performance of a life for her, and she came 5th. And in the Australian Olympic Committee rules for how we select people to go to the Olympics, there's a tiering system. So if you get a podium, you're tier 1, means that if we have a spot qualified, you will be the first selected, non-discussion. If you come in the top 5 or super top 6, top 5, top 6, you're tier 2, you'll be the next on the list if a spot is qualified for Australia. And then after that comes top 12 and so on, so on. Then it becomes more of a discretionary spot. By the end of the qualification process, Australia had qualified 3 spots, which was not what we wanted. We wanted to qualify 4 because we had 4 girls. Abby qualified 1 spot short of the top 25. That would have been the 4th spot. So she missed a 4th qualification spot. The 3 that we had didn't belong to anyone, because when you qualify a spot, it's not your spot, it's Australia's spot.
Quota.
And then athletes get put into those. So Laura and Danny qualified 2 spots, and Gabby, having had a couple good results that year, including a 5th, had qualified Australia's spot. Then the tiering system came in place, and it was Laura and Danny on the podium, instantly in. The 3rd spot then got given to Gabby because she had a one-off super final performance. Not what I expected to happen.
But you can't go against, like it doesn't matter.
I had no say in this. It's tick boxes on a sheet of paper, and they go 2 podiums. They go, who's the next on the list? Next tier up is tier 2. Gabby got a top 5. She's in.
Yeah.
This next athlete misses out, and that was Abby. And I couldn't have foreseen this at all. I was guaranteed in my mind that she would go.
And is Abby aware of that? So Abby obviously would understand that there's a criteria.
I explained it to everyone many times before, and when I had to deliver the bad news to her after, and it was rough. And I think she found it very hard to accept it because she was so determined to go, as you would be, as I also expected her to go. But when you're emotional and you've just had this huge weight put on you, you're not going to achieve the thing you've worked towards. I don't even know what information goes in and out people's ears. Maybe they heard it, maybe they didn't. I tried very hard to explain it and be just the most logical and rational about it. But that's what happened. And it was not a great time.
What I find
it was very hard.
What you said there before about how almost her getting cut is almost the best thing for her because then that turns her into that. I'm sure if you watched or listened to our chat with her and she basically said, you know, her reaction of getting that podium was almost like a fuck you to the people who cut her. So when you see that anger and that emotion, you witnessed it firsthand when you told her that, like, that where she's at now, do you think that is the fact that that's driving her is continuing, based on what you're saying, that is turning her into a better athlete? Do you think that can help her towards the debut Olympic possibly next year in Milan?
Look, again, without predicting, she should be going. I'd be very surprised if she doesn't. Now she's got some podiums. There's no going to be any issues with the tiering process. Mm-hmm. It's just they just need to continually keep getting okay results to keep them in the top 25. I'm almost certain all four will go. Almost certain. She will be almost guaranteed a spot. I would be shocked if she didn't make it in. But it is dangerous to have the spite drive you. I had it for my career. It worked for me. It doesn't work for everyone because you have to channel the anger into actions that are helpful. If you jump with anger and you can't use it to focus and perform better, it's dangerous. So when I look at her results now, and I don't want to use the word fate, but I do like this concept of determinism where everything that has happened in your past leads to the current moment. So the decision you're going to make, the takeoff you're going to hit is all determined by your experience previously. So her current success has only been made possible by everything that has happened, the exact way that it's happened. So as with my career, I would love to not have gone through all the nonsense, but I would not have got my medal because that drive and the experience led me to that moment of which whatever thought was going through my head was derived from everything that happened. So what she's doing now and doing very well is a result of everything that she's been through. Whether it was good or not is up for an opinion, but that has led her to who she is right now with the attitude she has right now. So if that's working for her, that was meant to happen like this. So I felt bad for removing her from the team. I felt very good for helping her back on, getting her results. I don't know how she feels about the whole process because, again, I haven't missed out on Olympics. I don't know what that feels like. I've seen people react and I saw her reaction. It was heartbreaking also. It was so hard to deliver the information and to watch her then walk away from the sport and come back angry. And I was like, no, you're better than this. And, it wasn't, there was no personal decisions. And I'm glad the tiering system's in place because if it came down to we have 5 athletes in 4 spots and these 2 are ranked the same, it would come down to coach discretion where you go, I would like this athlete to go. And you have to say, here's why. I didn't get the chance to do this. If I look back on it, if I had been asked, and this is no disrespect to Gabby either, Abby had the better skills. So if I had to have chosen anyone, I'd have to always choose the person with the highest skills. This person has the highest DD. They are more likely, if they land, to get a good result. This may have been a very different outcome. I didn't get the choice. I was just told these 3 are going. You need to tell Abby she's not. I was like, okay.
It's so fascinating to hear.
Terrible.
All the perspectives of it because, again, back to what I was saying about how you're in a no-win position as an athlete back at the very start of this interview, David, you're in a no-win position as a coach either because, ultimately you're going to make someone happy and someone not happy.
Yep, and there's always going to be joy and tears, and the tricky thing is, in the end, I care about all the athletes. Again, we don't all vibe together all the time, but I'm not training them just because they're there. I want people to do well. It also makes me look good when they do well. I want all athletes to be successful. I don't want anyone to get injured. I want them to feel safe, and I want them to maximize their potential. And if their potential is a lay full and a full, which is low level as such, if that's your potential, great. I got you to your potential. That makes me happy. So you win some, you lose some. You have to take it on the chin. And I think for me, I'm honest with people about it. and I say, yeah, I did this. I'm not proud of that. This I'm proud of. I was part of this decision. I know you don't like that, but I just own it, because that's part of being an athlete too, is owning up to your own actions. So some people, when they crash, they blame the coaches. I'm like, I got your speed right. You're in the air on your own. You have to do it. Like, I can make a call in the air, because we call out to our athletes. Whether they listen or not is up to them. But in the end, it is the athlete's decision on what to do. And if they've trained hard, they will know what to do. So when I see athletes blaming their coaches, I'm like, if they got the speed wrong, maybe you can say, yeah, you can blame a little bit, but you're the athlete in the air. You need to adjust. So it's athletes need to take responsibility, but so do coaches. And if it's 50-50, it's healthy. Because athletes, they'll say, it was your fault, I didn't do this. And you go, fine, if you're going to blame me for your loss, then you need to give me your medal and your prize money when you win.
Good point.
Because if I'm 100% to blame, then you blame me when you win too, and I'll take that victory for myself.
Very good.
But when the athletes claim the victory, I'm like, that's fine, but then you need to also claim the loss. I'm happy to be 50-50 with you in both, but it's like this in most people's minds. They go, I won, you made me lose. I go, that's not how it works.
I'm just saying this right now. Again, sequel. We need a sequel.
I should get the next 4 years up to PyeongChang, and then the disappointment.
I mean,
little mini.
Not trying to blow smoke up your ass, Dave, but again, this is one of the best books I've ever read in terms of from an athlete's mind.
That's good to know. It's a good picture book. There's a lot of pictures involved.
That's the thing too, and you even signed it for me. I was very honoured. Thank you very much. But going even what you were saying there about some of the stuff, it did bring me back to reading this book about how you would talk about hearing the coaches when you're doing those tricks, and we've had many aerial skiers on the show where I've always talk to them about it, because again, from an outsider perspective, you're in there so quickly.
Yeah, what are they? Can you hear them? What are they yelling?
What are you thinking in midair? Like, well, fuck, that's got to do shit all. But like, you go into that and you talk about that. So, sequel.
It really can help. Yes, I mean, how to coach aerials? Yell this, don't yell this. Don't make mistakes.
What it is? It's if you've ever watched Eddie the Eagle, I always have to relate this to either Eddie the Eagle or Cool Running. So Eddie the Eagle it is today. But when you've got the Christopher Walken character who basically has the book My Life in Ski Jumping, like it's just you need to have the book My Life in aerial skiing. And then you'd have Hugh Jackman playing like one of your people underneath you, in a movie.
Solid.
Exactly, which is a question related to that. We're going to get to these questions in just a moment, and you've actually answered one of those, because when we had you on last time, it was a Canadian questionnaire. It was different. We now have our stock standard 10. These are what we're asking everybody right now, and I'm excited for this because, David, you're always honest and you're always not afraid to give us a good answer. So I'm going to start off with one. What is the one thing that, I guess I have to use this in past tense now because you're retired, what is the one thing that you never left home without when you travelled to a competition?
I always had a signed thermal shirt. It says long sleeve white shirt. And when I first started the sport, I got people to sign it and say good luck. And it was just filled with signatures and messages from friends and families and whoever. And every competition, I wore this as a good luck. And if I didn't have it for whatever reason, I felt very uncomfortable, which of course makes no sense. But I always had this particular thing. And my pillow, because I'm a precious sleeper and I have to sleep with the exact pillow that I use.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Do you keep the shirt up? Like, does it get framed? Is it going to go to the Australian Sports Museum?
It's in the cupboard. No, I wouldn't give this one. I would never give away because it's just like all these little meaningful things from along the way. It was just people kept adding to it throughout the year. So it was just my competition thermal, and I go, I wear this, and this just has everyone's little messages, and I wouldn't necessarily have to read them. But I was like, this is my support network.
Fantastic.
On me.
I like that. Oh, that's a good one. That's the most unique one we've had on this show since we've asked these questions.
That wasn't super funny or special, but
that means the most. All right. That's all. That's all I'll say there. What was a traditional superstition that you followed before every big competition?
Ooh, that was one. Wearing the top, had to have it.
Yep.
I also, of course, had to put the gear on in a particular way. What
was your way? How did you?
Well, it's like, have you ever tried putting your pants on but putting the other leg in first? It doesn't feel right. Try it next time. Everyone do it. Yeah. It doesn't feel right. And you will take them off and you'll put them back on the right way. I've tried it. I go like right leg, left leg. But if you go left leg, right leg, you put them on, you're like,
that's a good point. It
doesn't feel like they're on properly. It's super weird.
Yep.
So I always have the same breakfast. So I have my Wheat Bix.
Yep.
I'd travel with them as much as possible, get the Wheat Bix, which you have
How many Wheat Bix did you do, David?
4, usually with like banana and muesli on top.
Oh, good.
Because if it was too much, I'd spew. Because like we are flipping and spinning, so you can't just gulp it down. I was like, that's the right amount to give me enough energy, but not to throw up while I'm upside
Don't want to see
down.
a couple of wheat bix floating down the
And
snow behind you.
Maybe some extra points.
Could get deducted as
you can see the
well.
landing hill. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I got ready the same way every time, and I tried to wear the same thing every time. I buckled the boots up the same way. I'd have the skis on the same feet, which is always not actually that smart too, because they get worn out on one edge. But I'm like, that's my right one, that's my left one. I have to remove the snow from the skis, like little stupid things that really don't do anything, but if it sets your mind in a zone where you feel comfortable, that is actually important. It does nothing except set yourself in a zone where you go, everything's good. And that's all you need most of the time to perform well, is to just go, everything's as it should be.
I've told this story in my esteemed junior hockey career. I was a goalie, and every time I got in the goals, I had to like go
ding, ding,
right,
ding, ding.
left, up. Like I had to do this tap.
Here are the goals, yeah.
Don't know why. Never did anything. We sucked. But hey, it made me feel good for the day. So,
and that is the most powerful feeling you can have, is confidence. Or security or safety, whatever it is. Like that keeps us going. It keeps us safe. It keeps us moving.
As I always like to brag on the show, the only good thing that came from my hockey career is I made Eddie Ockenden good, because he used to score a lot of goals against me as a junior.
You added to his stats. It's well played.
Exactly. There you go. What was a song that was on every one of your pre-competition playlists, no matter what?
At the time, I liked Starboy.
Oh, yes. Good
by
song.
Daft Punk and The Weeknd, like the remix fast version. That was
like,
that got me vibing. I was like, yep, let's go. Let's send it.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Like, it's one of those songs that it popped up on some reel or something recently. And, you know, sometimes when you like a period of life, you love a song, but then it disappears from your life. But then you hear it again. That song is a bang. You're like, wow. And then you just start listening to it all the time, right?
Yeah, it
like
brings back some memories. So that one was for me because it wasn't too intense, but it got me just in the mood to go like, I'm going to do some damage out here today. Let's go.
Let's go. Good song. I like that. There you go. What is the most unexpected or funny DM that you have ever gotten as an Olympian?
Oh, I have one. I know this one very well. After Sochi, I think it was one of the first ones on Twitter, and it said, "Will you be my lover?" From Carlos in Mexico.
Oh, Carlos. There he is.
Carlos in Mexico.
Classic
sadly didn't
Carlos.
respond to this, but that was a pretty funny one.
Left him hanging, David.
I did. That's ruthless, I know.
Anything to say to Carlos right now if he's listening or watching?
Sorry, Carlos, I'm now married. I know you got in early, but yeah, sorry.
Damn.
Don't swing that way.
Carlos.
It was pretty funny. I was like, wow, okay, that's good. That's good. There was a couple I'm sure that I got, but my brother was really good because at my first Olympics, I gave him the password for my Twitter and in Sochi.
Yeah.
And he filtered through the nonsense and got rid of anything like some was still there, but like he got through and just went, that is unacceptable. And just like any really nasty ones, he deleted those, especially leading into the event, because you don't need to read that stuff. There's some terrible people out there.
It's fast becoming my favorite question because I'm learning now there are Carloses, there's people who want pictures of feet, there's sugar daddies and mamas that are out there.
Haven't got that one. Yeah. I think someone asked me, could they have my boots?
Okay.
I was like, no, you can't have my boots.
Yeah. They're expensive as well.
Yeah, can I have the boots? I think it was just a simple like, can I have boots? I was like, no. I mean, maybe if you said please, but just can I have boots? No.
Can I have boots? Well, if you said please.
No, definitely cannot.
You know, I'm actually visualizing a person, like we all get those messages sometimes where it's just something stupid, but can I have boots?
Like you're watching just, someone you've never met before go, I want your boots. Like, at what point did you think that would be successful?
It's like those kids who are, they go to a footy match or something. Patrick Cripps, can I have your glove? Something like that, right? What they're giving everyone, but just somebody to, can I have boots?
Yeah,
no.
Can I have boots? No, you can't. I think I just wrote back, no, you cannot. Sorry.
Do they write,
need them? They're my ski boots. They're molded to my feet. You wouldn't even enjoy them.
One of these days, somebody's just going to say yes, right? Like it's like, like the Nigerian prince who's, someday somebody's just going to send him $1 million just because,
why not? Yeah.
One day they're going to blow their mind.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
You never know. The weirdest thing that you ever ate at an international competition, and did you like it?
And I know this one very well too. Oh, there's two.
Oh, even better.
There's two. One was in China.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, the buffet. And my favorite thing is they had labels, which obviously Google translated at the time, which were not well translated. And some of these were so great. It had, and I still didn't know what it was. And it had, one of them was called beer gut. I was like, okay. My favorite label was saliva chicken.
Oh.
Not sure what that is.
Came out of the beer gut, apparently.
The beer gut, yeah, saliva chicken. And then there was a meat on there that was like kind of purpley.
Oh.
And I was like, I wonder what this is. Tried it. Not a fan. Not sure. I feel like it may have been a domestic pet.
Oh, okay.
Didn't try it again, but I've never seen it since. So,
wow.
And then we went to Norway for World Championships once, and one of their delicacies is salted head of a sheep.
Salted head of a sheep?
So they treat the sheep and they cook it with like flames from the side and salt this out and just chop it in half, and you just get half a head on your plate, and the eyes there, the tongue's there. I feel like I can still taste it.
Oh, so is that like one of those cultural things where you're kind of in front of people, you have to eat? It's like Indiana Jones, right?
We chose to go, like the whole group of us, and we're all sitting there going, and I got the eye. I can't even. I feel like I'm gonna throw up just thinking about it again. I got the eyeball, and it's like, and you try and bite it, which I didn't want to, and then the juice goes. I can't even.
Trauma with these questions all of a sudden.
That one lives with me forever.
You know, it's the thing also I'm learning with this question, and again, I'm not being disrespectful in the way I say this, but China comes up a lot with these food options.
They eat almost
interestingly.
everything.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. First time I've had Norway, though, as one. But
it's their delicacy, and we were all feeling ill for the next couple of days, and it was a good discussion point.
Wow.
Some people liked it. I did not.
I guess you probably had one less wheat bix the next morning.
Yeah, I didn't feel like eating for the next day. I think it was just...
well, I mean, I'm hoping with this question that you're not feeling too sick to answer, because there's a good side of food things. Your ultimate guilty pleasure meal after a big competition.
Chicken parmigiana wedges, lemon lime bitters.
Oh, not even hesitation. Straight into it.
If I go into a restaurant and that's on the menu, I don't even have to look at the menu. I pretend to look at the menu, 100% knowing that I'm going to go for the parma. I just look at the other options that I'm not going to get, but it's every time.
You actually just also answered my next question, Palmy or Palmer. You said Palmer, so you're wrong. But
it's a Palmer. Sorry, people.
Palmy.
Also non-discussion.
That's a Victorians call it a Palmer.
It is though, isn't it? Yes,
Tasmanians, we call it a Palmy, and I don't know. We usually copy you guys, so I don't know why we're different. But
I mean, if you look at the spelling, I guess it could be. But when you say Parmigiana, you don't say Parmigiana. So I'm like, when you shorten it as an Aussie. Yeah. Just shorten it to like Palmer.
It's like the debate, like the American spelling of mum versus what we say.
Don't even get me started on that.
Because I guess it's like technically mother is M-O, so I can see where they get but we say it like mum.
But the whole world says M-U-M. Yeah. And when you say mummy, it's M-U-M in America.
Mommy.
When they have like a mummy, like the pyramid, the Egyptian mummies, but they say mommy with an I don't know. The only country does it, so... Can't support that one.
Are you a potato cake, potato scallop? What are you on that side?
Potato cake.
Yeah, you're correct there. All right, there you go. That's it. You
could be weird. I got one at least.
Could be weird and be a New Zealander and call it what do they call it? A potato fritter? Is that what do they call it? I
could see that. Yeah. But no, it's a potato cake. Sorry.
It blew my mind.
Or a hash brown if you want to really push it.
Yeah, true. People outside of Australia right now going, what the hell are they talking
about?
They're
going, where's this going? And you go, this is a very important topic. This breaks relationships, this stuff.
We don't really have accents in Australia. We just have things, we call things differently, and it pisses people off, right? So, that's
how we work.
Start
just
wars.
Pests.
Yep, exactly. If you could swap sports for a day with another Olympian, what event would you choose, and how do you think you'd go?
Ooh. I have pondered this question a couple of times because I like to think I'm relatively talented at stuff. That's talking myself up a bit. I've got some skills. I've tried to compete against some very good people. So I competed against Melissa Tapper, who is table tennis player.
Yes.
I played her. knowing she would beat me, I said, just go all out. I got the ball on the table once by accident. And I know how to play table tennis. And accidental corner hit 1 point. That's all I got.
Take it.
Just to show, like, even as Olympic athletes, when you go against the people who are the experts, we got no chance.
Mm-hmm.
No chance. What would I like? Because I would instantly think winter sports, but then again, sometimes I'd like, summer sport would be cool. A running event where there's a massive crowd coming in.
Well, you say Ninja
Archery
Warrior
would be kind of cool.
I was trying to get
Ninja would be cool.
Talk you up on the modern
Parkour.
pentathlon, because now that they've gotten rid of the horse, they're adding Ninja Warrior essentially. So how's your
do they
swimming?
Do they swim in the pentathlon?
Yeah, swimming. You've got
I would drown. No,
cycling, shooting.
Cycling, I can't do that. Cycling,
Running.
my legs die. So shooting would be interesting, actually.
Yeah.
The clay pigeon shooting.
Yeah. Oh, it's air pistol, because you got to do the run and then it's kind of almost like biathlon, but instead of skiing, you run. So you run, you stop, you shoot.
Yeah. But biathletes, holy moly, they're fit.
Oh yeah. I
tried that too. That was much harder than I expected.
I've actually got tickets to biathlon in Milan next year, and I'm very intrigued to watch it live. So
I think it's quite exciting if you're following someone around. I think if you just watch it, you go, yeah, what's happening? But if you're really watching the race and picking up who's leading,
I need to choose
it's
someone.
pretty
If we
good.
don't have an Aussie, I've just got to randomly pick that Kazakhstani biathlete.
I hope we have some. Yeah, I know some of the girls and boys from the Youth Olympic Games.
Mm-hmm.
I hope some of them make it in. That'd be cool to watch.
Yeah, it was on the
I
list.
can't think of a solid answer for that question.
I think
let me ponder that. Let me put
that.
There's a couple of things I love to try. Oh no, I've got it. Skeleton.
Oh yes, there you go.
Because I've tried it once.
Yep.
I was in Lake Placid and they had I tagged along with some business thing some people were having. They're like, oh, let's go down the bobsled track on the skeleton. But I was like, yes, cool. And they had these old men in there, and it was halfway up the track. I didn't realize. I thought it was like maybe 1 or 2 turns halfway up the track. And one guy's dislocated his shoulder, and I'm having the best time going down this thing. Bit of core strength. But I found that exhilarating and very exciting, but also just dangerous enough to keep it interesting.
I also like the fact that of the 3 sliding sports, you went for the scariest straight away, right? Like the face down.
Not the most dangerous.
Not the most dangerous.
Luge is the most dangerous. It's the fastest.
And the funniest thing about that is we've had a few, had Alex on the show. We had Emily back in the day, a few of our lugists back in the day. But it's also a case of that a lot of them talk about how Roy and HG destroyed luge. Because Roy and HG made it out that all you do is lay there and you don't do anything else. But of course,
100% no.
It's very physical.
No, it's so hard.
So
yeah, that's might be the only. Well, no, maybe it'd been 2, but that someone died doing luge.
Dude, it was
I think it was
the Georgian.
in Sochi.
That was in Vancouver. It was.
Was it Vancouver?
It was Vancouver.
So
yeah, the Georgian.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
So it's dangerous. I have a lot of respect for them. And again, it looks easy because they're not moving around too much, but they are at the right time.
Yep.
I'd have to get Jackie Narracott to teach me some skeleton.
Get
be a fun day.
Get Nick on the teacher as well, Nick Timmings.
Yes. He's still training too. I've seen a couple of posts from him.
He is. Look, I like this.
More
reasons to get you out of retirement for other sports. There you go. I like having fun with this one now because we actually get a bit of help with this one. If your Olympic journey were a movie, what would the title be and who would play you? And I've got some help here for this one if you struggle.
Ooh. Yeah, help me out. The title would be interesting.
Well, so I've gone to ChatGPT because who doesn't like to cheat with some AI? And they've given me 10 movie ideas for the David Morris autobiography, or the biography, I should say. So we've got Against Gravity. Sounds a bit Wicked-esque there, doesn't it? The Sky Above Sochi. That one's pretty straight to the point, all right?
Yes.
Flightline, the David Morris story. Not bad.
Decent.
Silver in the Sky. Ooh.
I don't mind that. There's one. Oh, no, because if I'd had the gold medal, I could have had, white gold. But it's
gold.
Silver.
There you go.
Silver in the Sky is not bad, though.
I don't know. This one, No Snow Down Under. I feel like you need to add a subtitle. There is snow down under, but I mean, okay.
Yes, there is.
Not much, but there's some. There's Aussie
enough.
Flyer. Upside Down and Rising, that one's clever. Beyond,
that's not bad.
That's pretty good.
I don't mind that.
That's witty. Beyond the Landing, Edge of Air,
Also
and
bad.
High Hopes, the David Morris journey. I like Upside Down and Rising. Yeah,
that's quite clever, actually.
that is very
Well done,
clever.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, the actors.
I'd take that.
The actors have gone here. So Australian actor.
I mean, obviously, like, Chris Hemsworth, because we have the same body type. That's
clearly everyone does. Have you ever been compared? Because this is almost a side answer to this question. Side question to this question. Has anybody ever compared you to an actor, like a doppelganger or anybody in your life?
Sadly, not.
Okay.
No, I've just got that weird build, and it's like.
We get some
people are like, what do you do? I'm like, yeah, you won't be able to tell just from looking at me.
Random answers to that one. But they've suggested Brendan Thwaites, who I vaguely know who that is. I think he might have been in Home and Away, maybe.
Okay.
Jacob Elordi, no idea who that is, but apparently he was in Euphoria and
Jacob, no idea.
Dacre Montgomery apparently was in Stranger Things, cool. Luke Bracey, I've heard of him, Point Break and Hacksaw Ridge, and Cody Fern. These are Australian actors they're suggesting.
Okay. But I'm a bit disappointed Chris Hemsworth not in it, but it's okay, it's fine. Whatever.
International options. Now, I feel they've just cheated here and gone with Taron Egerton. Just because he played Eddie the Eagle, they're just going for some guy who's like, oh, boom, he plays.
No, he needs to be shorter.
Yeah, exactly.
Less stocky.
And they've also gone with Jeremy Irvine, who was in Warhorse and Treadstone, and Lucas Hedges, who was in Manchester by the Sea. Never heard of those two. So
no.
I heard Chris Hemsworth too.
Yeah, look. Yeah, it'd have to be someone sort of small and scrawny, because I am. Because if you look at us in the gym, I've had people go like, "What sport do you do?" You won't guess, because we're short. We're not quite gymnast short. We're not quite gymnast massive. We're strong but not bulky. We have a lot of spring. It's a funny one, but I don't know. You have to pick someone sort of scrawny but has a lot of power, and it's unexpected. And you know that they look like they can't do much, but they actually can do much. I think that's what's cool about aerials. You look at someone, you go, "What do you do?" And then you watch them, and you go, "Holy moly, you're capable of that."
Is the question then, has anybody in any form of drama, comedy, anything, has there ever been an actor who has portrayed an aerial skier? I cannot think of a movie or a TV show where there's been a fictional aerial skier in any capacity.
I don't believe so.
James Bond's never done it yet, so...
I mean, they've had flips on skis, but no, I don't think, because it's... You'd have to have someone who obviously knows what they're doing. You can't fake it like, a gymnastics movie. You can have some random do something simple, and you go, you can't really go into a simple aerial skill safely. You would need an actual aerialist.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yet. The David Morrison, we've got some movie titles for it. So
I could become an actor, maybe.
Yeah. They buggered the reality TV route, get into acting.
Lame.
Yeah. Get into real celebrity. That's what you want to do.
That's right. A-list.
What is the one question you are tired of being asked, and what is the one you wish people would ask you instead?
This is also a very good question.
I also get scared of your answer in case I've already asked you the question.
No, that's good. I think the question I get tired... I mean, I don't get tired of it. To be honest, I don't really get tired of questions, because when people ask the question, whatever it is, even if it's repetitive, it's their first time asking it, and they want to know the answer. So it's not like, for us we go, I've been asked this, but for them, that's their first time. So I always treat it like someone's first time. But there's some that I get so often that I have the very standard answer, which I almost get bored answering it, I guess. So when they're like, how did you feel after your medal? It's a legit question.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot describe this.
Mm-hmm.
And the closest I come up with is I go, for Australians anyway, you go, just think back to your schooling years. And if you could remember from grade 1 to grade 12 and all the work that you put in, and at the very last exam out of year 12, you come out and they go, you're the best or you're second best in the world at your exam. How would you feel about that?
Great answer.
And that's it, is you put in all the work and you get the result you want. It is incredibly difficult to describe what that feels like, because very few people get what they truly desire. And I would have liked a gold, but silver was my max, 100%. Because they're like, how did you feel? And I go, well, obviously excited, but my actual feeling was relief. And to explain why is a whole story, and that's why the book is there. It was relief to have done all that and gone through everything to get the one thing that actually proved that I was correct. But it's a good question, but I just think it's strange that people go, how are you feeling? And it's people can give a good answer, but of course it's the same. I feel fantastic. I'm over the moon. I'm stoked. I'm pumped. Of course it's this answer.
The only time it works is the moment you get your first interview. It was Channel 10 back then, wasn't it? So
and you get it straight away, and you're like still like buzzing.
It's the only time.
But
of
course, you give the answer. It's always the same answer. I feel fantastic.
Yeah.
I guess
the question, shit, mate. Like fucking Jesus.
But it's even like, when you don't do well in the interview, you go, they don't actually ask you how are you feeling because they know the answer. I go, so you know the answer to this one, but not the good one.
I'm taking notes how to do my job better in the future. Thank you for this.
If it's done, if they have a bad event, you don't go, how are you feeling? You can say, can you talk us through what's happened?
Yeah.
Or can you talk us through what's happening at the moment? And that's a good answer. Question I would like to be asked. Many, I think. The question I would like to be asked the most, because I feel like it is the most valuable answer, and I do get it sometimes, but not as much as I would like, is what is the most important message you can deliver to people with your experience? And we may have had this discussion before because I always give the same similar answer.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish people, when I go to schools, whatever, I wish someone would say, what's the best advice that you have for aspiring athletes or people? And the answer is ask for help. And asking for help is not a weakness. And a lot of people see asking for help as a weakness because you go, I can't do it. I need to ask for help. It is a strength to assess yourself to the point where you go, I can no longer do this on my own. I need additional assistance. This is a strength to admit to yourself that you cannot do something. Weakness is being too stupid or to having too much of an ego to accept what you clearly need. So I say, ask for help. Do not be scared of asking for help. Be proud of asking for help. And when you get it, take it. Because you can only perform at 100% of your maximum level. And when the competition is 110%, that 10% is from external forces. You need people to give you 10% of information, help, feedback, confidence, whatever it is. So ask for help. It is a strength to ask for it because it is not easy to do.
Great answer.
That would be my best advice.
Completely agree with that too. It is not easy to ask for help.
It's not easy to admit I can't do it, especially when, as an athlete, when you are all about yourself and all you think about is yourself most of the time and you're out there to get results for yourself to go, I can't do it is very hard, which is also then what helped me with coaching because I go, I know this kid won't ask, but I know they want to, so I'm just going to help them and not make them ask. And that comes from knowing that they need the help and understanding the position there. And I go, I'm going to help you. I won't make you ask it. But they'll sort of do it through their body language and hopefully understand at the end that that's what it was.
Do you see that with teaching now as well in your current?
Yep, same profession? For teaching. Yep, I can. So yes, now I'm a school teacher, teach sports. I've kept it in the active sport community. It is harder at school because the kids are not at the same level. So I'm like, can you just catch the ball, please? It's a bit different from, can you please land your 3 flips and 4 twists safely and untilt in the right plane and blah, blah. Can you just catch the ball? It drives me a little crazy sometimes, but I get to help kids and they don't ask for help, but I can give them more practice time. But it's fun to watch and you watch them develop. And I watch someone struggling and I go, would you like some assistance? And because they're school kids, they actually say yes. And it's nice to go, I can now help you. It's cool. Do they
Google who you are? Are they aware of who
you are? Yes, they are aware. Some are. I don't go in and say it.
They just walk in with a silver medal. Oh, how did this get here? Oh.
No. And now I have some of my shirts are like Olympic rings because I love the collared polo shirt because it makes me look a bit more professional than a t-shirt. So sometimes I have the staff and they're like, what is that? And I go, it's just a shirt. And I don't talk about it unless they really ask. And of course the kids slowly catch on to things and they look up, they go, I looked you up. I'm like, as long as you looked up the good things, that is fine by me. Actually, I know everything that's on there, but no, they look it up, but I wanted to get the respect from them as a teacher first, as a person first, and then add that on. So they go, oh, that's also cool. Because one kid came up to me and they go, Mr. Morris, I looked you up and you've been to the Olympics. Now you're really cool. I was like, oh, now I am. So until then wasn't, but now I am.
Wow.
Thanks. Appreciate that. So that was pretty funny. But they're primary. They just speak their mind. They're great.
Oh, I remember in primary school, we had I don't think he went to the Olympics, but he was like a national, it was very good long distance runner. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. And I discovered who he was because, kid loves the Olympics, all that sort of stuff. Yes. And I went and got his autograph on my hat because I think he'd been to a world championship or something. Nice. And the next day, no word of every kid had his signature on that. Like, oh, we didn't know who he was. And then all of a sudden everyone's like,
and they all want to be a part of it, which is nice. And I particularly chose primary. Could have done primary or secondary, but I love primary because they want to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
They can't do it, but they want to, and they love their teachers. They admire you. They want to be like you. And I yes, it's a bit of an ego trip, but I like the feeling of being able to guide them in the right direction with the assumption that I do a good job and I am a good role model, which I believe I am. So I go, this is, the coaching lower down or teaching lower down is super important because you really shape people into what they can become. And if you do it right at the start, which is my goal, then you can pass them on and go, I've done my job. Go into the world. Good luck. Do your best. I hope I had a significant impact on you. So that sort of that level is important to me, to have that impact and be a good role model. And if they find out who I am, cool, great. There was like, can you do a flip? I'm like, I can, but I won't because I haven't warmed up and I'm old now. I can still do it. I do one occasionally. And then of course it never ends. Like, oh, we saw you do one. Can you do it again? I'm like, oh, I should never do it anymore.
No to flips. All right.
Yep. No to flips.
Catch a ball, Jimmy.
That's right.
You catch a ball.
You catch the ball or do a flip. You're foul. No flips. Everyone has to catch it. 100%.
I'd be terrible as a teacher because I'd just like, just catch the fucking ball.
I get frustrated.
Last question. You basically answered this question because you've given some great insight into this. But the question is, what's one lesson you have learnt from losing that you think has shaped you more than winning? I mean, again, I feel like you've really answered this throughout the interview.
There's a couple good answers from this, though. I think so. When you lose, you appreciate what a loss feels like, and therefore you can appreciate what a win feels like.
Mm-hmm.
And when you win, you don't go out there going, yeah, I'm the best, because you know what it's like to be at the bottom. And you see these people disappointed with the day. So you can say, thank you very much for my medal. This was great. And well done to my competitors. And you can go and have a chat to them and not rub it in their face. You go, hey, you jumped really well today. You did this. So one of my favorite pictures from the Sochi games is one where the top four of us who are in the super final, we're all hugging in the finishing zone. Two of them had crashed out and not got the result they wanted. I'd obviously pleased. Anton, who got the gold, was pleased. And we're just having a big cuddle at the bottom. And I said, come in, boys. That was such a great competition. I'm so glad I was here with you guys in this moment to share it with everyone. It's super cool. And in that moment, the win didn't matter. It was the people. Because what some athletes don't understand is that without your competition there's no competition. They're like, oh, I won. I go, yeah, because people competed against you. Mm-hmm. And if you are arrogant and stuck up and too much of an ego, no one will want to play or compete with you. And therefore you no longer have a competition. So in losing, I realized how to lose. And I saw some people win very graciously and just say, I'm really happy with my result. Thank you. And then come and say, hey, great jumping. You did well today. I was like, oh, thanks for remembering me, even though I was down the bottom of the list. And so I made sure I did the same thing. So I think losing teaches you how to win well. For most people, it should. And to appreciate it and not take it for granted. I think it is very important to fail often, more so hopefully at the start, and to be humbled by that, to then be better at the end and understand everyone in the field.
Great answer. And I'll say it this way as well, spoken like a true Carlton supporter, because we like to take the wins and feel good when they happen.
Any victory we will accept.
Because that hit home a lot more, the way you the way you put that. David.
Accept the losses, and there are many of them.
Yes. I mean, God, we're at that age now where like people, they've never seen us win a premiership. Like, come on, we grew up with it at least. Anyway.
Sad times.
Aerialskier.com still exists. I discovered that. You still own it because you got your photography on there. And if people buy your book...
Change it to photography now. So I'm trying to slowly move away from the identity of aerial skier, which is very hard because it was me for many years. But I love my photography and videography. So I've kept my story and some videos on there that are associated with the book.
It's very well connected to the book, by the way. It's like an interactive thing. Like, you've read the book, watch the videos.
Each chapter has a video that shows you the jumps I'm talking about. I tried to make it a bit interesting. But yeah, that's still there, and I try and entertain people still a little bit through the social media, but I'm backing off a little bit.
Are you on TikTok?
Bit by bit.
Are you on TikTok, David?
I have one. I try and put up like tutorials on like how to twist. So I'm trying to be more educational now rather than look at me. I want to help people.
Right.
Because there's so much nonsense out there.
I honestly think that like TikTok would have been perfect back when you were like competing for you. Someone like you, because you would have owned
been
TikTok.
all over that stuff, but all the good stuff comes in after. We got a ramp after I finish. We get TikTok and Instagram blows up further after I'm done, and people are now using it. Oh my god!
Mixed team aerials now, all these things that are just like,
sad,
come on.
very sad, very sad.
Yeah. Anyway, but if people want to follow your journey, search you on there. We'll tag that on all our page. David, it's an absolute honor. Always a pleasure. I can't believe it has been so long between drinks. I apologize for that, but we will make sure
problems.
We'll get you back on for some reason. I don't know what it will
Something
be.
random will happen.
Your luge career, your skeleton career.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that.
That would be good.
But it's mate, it's always a pleasure to have you on this podcast.
Thanks again for having me. I hope it was entertaining for people to listen to. Different side of the story, both sides.